To jump in here and talk about October and November data. This is general aviation AQP, trying to reduce the general aviation fatal accident rate. One of the ways that we're going to do that is by keeping data, keeping up with it, and keeping track of our statistics on how we're doing, trying to do better by keeping track of how we're doing. I'll put October up on the screen here, and I've got a couple corrections to make. Here's October, and I want you to go back and look at the number 11, which happened October 20th, 4:19 p.m., November 510 Golf. That's the Lancer 360 in Florida. Greg Mailer, 62. I originally put downwind leg. Yes, he did fly a downwind approach. Here's what we now know. He reported in with an electrical problem. It's an electrical gear. It's also electronic ignition. He has to have voltage to make the engine run. He reported in that he wasn't sure if he had his landing gear down, and he was on a handheld to try to confirm. So he overflew the FBO trying to get somebody to look at his gear. He ended up, I believe he ended up turning around. I think his downwind leg was flying north to south, and then he turned around and tried to fly back south to north, I believe is what happened. But all the details are fairly sketchy. I still don't know the exact path. All I can tell you is that the engine was sputtering. He was not sure of his gear. And in the very end, this was a loss of speed awareness. He ended up losing speed control of his airplane, probably trying to deal with his engine abnormal, probably related to voltage, the magnetos fighting with the gear and trying to get his engine to run. His electronic ignition engine trying to get it to run is kind of what it sounded like to me. Still way too early. Can't tell for sure. I had a couple people call me about the downwind landing thing that didn't make any sense. I think this makes a lot more sense now. He ended up trying to get somebody to look at that landing gear, probably flew one pass downwind and then was going to land going the other way. Maybe. But in any case, loss of speed awareness is this accident. Also, his distraction with the abnormal. This is a mishandled abnormal in conjunction with loss of speed awareness. But basically, it's the mishandled abnormal that I'm attributing this to. He had an abnormal and ended up dying with his passenger over it. The guy's name was Greg Mailer, 62 years old, great guy. I'm going to talk real quick about the R-44 in Texas. Last week, the wire strike also on October 20. S. Grombosch, 34 years old, hit the tower. Here's a video of this thing hitting the tower. I originally said that that it wasn't fair because there wasn't lights. I think there was 2 lights on it. I'm going to temper that statement now by saying this was a new operation and a new pilot. Probably should have done much better diligent flight planning and used ForeFlight or some kind of a magenta line to plan a route that was completely clear of all the towers. The towers were known both day and night. Those towers aren't moving. We should be able to plan some kind of a VFR magenta line around the city for the tour that doesn't go anywhere near the towers. I'm not exactly sure why this helicopter ended up. I do believe it should have had high-intensity strobes, much more lights, much brighter on it, I believe is what the requirement it actually should be. It did have 2 blinking lights on it. So you can look at it however you want to. I think the tower is missing some lights, but I think the helicopter pilot also did not do diligent flight planning and proper avoidance to not go anywhere near that tower. That's the R-44. 4 people dead. We're very sorry and condolences to these friends and family. A horrific loss in Texas on an evening night sightseeing mission that should have gone much better. Let's take a look at the next one. This is November 75331. This is the Buckeye in Kentucky. Michael Murphy and his wife, Connie, 72 years old. We still don't have any information on what really happened. I'll show you this video here, right here. This is the video from the newsreel about what happened.
A spokesperson with the National Transportation Safety Board says the crash happened around 5:45 p.m. and flipped over while landing, though the crash is still being investigated. Jessamine County Sheriff Kevin Grimes says Michael Murphy was an experienced pilot.
I think he'd been flying for probably 20 years, so it wasn't like something that he hadn't done before.
That experience leaving the Murphys well known in the community.
He flies it regularly. I see him land. He takes off. And he has been doing it for several years.
They enjoyed flying a parachute daily. They flew almost during the summer. They fly every day.
The trike has a very low speed, low altitude, low energy. I'm not sure how you killed two people this. It does not look like it burned. It doesn't look like it hit hard. The roll cage looks pretty intact on this thing. I'm not sure how two people ended up dead. They were both, ironically, exactly 72 years old. They've been married a long time. A great couple. Everybody knew them, and we're very sorry for this. Typically, the powered parachute is a very safe, easy sport. You have very, very few deaths in this because even if your engine quits, you're still under a parachute, an open parachute. It's all very nice. I've been in these powered parachutes before. It's a lot of fun. I consider them very stable and very nice. I'm a fan of the concept of powered parachutes for people who like to fly this kind of low, slow evening flying. It's totally good. We have no idea yet exactly how this happened. Let's take a look at the last one for October. That's number 811 Papa Bravo. That's the 58. This is Phil Mathis, a retired surgeon from Mississippi. He flew over to Fayetteville, Arkansas to Wings Avionics. He was on the ground. He had an autopilot that he wanted to get checked out. I can't tell what kind of an autopilot he had. Here's an original picture of the airplane. This is a original 810 autopilot, very old, archaic autopilot. If that's what was still in the airplane, that's an old autopilot. We don't know if that avionics suite had gotten updated or not, but what he did was he flew into Wings Aviation, Fayetteville, Arkansas. He was on the ground for about 4 hours while technicians looked at his airplane. We know for sure his complaint was elevator, pitch, trim control, altitude hold, elevator trim, autopilot concerning pitch control is what the complaint was. When he left there, he left Fayetteville to go back home, apparently still missing a part, missing a piece, missing something that he did not have to make it proper. I think the only thing on the table here, this is a very accomplished Baron pilot, a good guy, a long-time Baron pilot. This airplane went straight in. This was not a fire. This was not a stall spin. This airplane went almost straight in vertically. Lack of pitch control. He did declare an emergency. He asked center for the vector towards the nearest airport, and they gave him Clinton, Arkansas, and he did not accept Clinton. He wanted a longer runway. One of the guys that was flying at the same time and heard the transmission, he called me. We don't have a tape of it because it did not record. At least I don't have a tape. But he called me and said, yes, he declared emergency. His words were that he could not hold altitude. He was struggling. You could hear it in his voice that he was trying to hold the elevator back. He was trying to keep the nose up, and he couldn't do it. This tells me that the elevator cable either broke, which I doubt, or else something got jammed in the elevator system. Even with full nose down pitch, for whatever reason, you should still be able to take both hands and pull that nose back up again. I don't know. This sounds like runaway trim, broken elevator cable, or something stuck in the pulley. Especially suspect to me is freshly coming out of maintenance where they're looking at this. They're in the tail of the airplane looking at those servos and crawling around back there. Did something get left back there? We don't know, and I can't speculate. I'm just saying to me, that's one of the scenarios that is definitely on the table that investigators will have to look at. What else did they find in that wreckage? Was there anything blocking that block tab, the elevator cable, and the pulley associated with elevator pitch control or elevator rudder or elevator trim control itself? We just don't know. Phil Mathis, 68 years old, a retired and well-respected surgeon from Mississippi, and that concluded everything that we had in October. Let's move on. We've only had 2 in the month of November. Let's take a look at the month of November. Just a couple days ago up in Crossville, Tennessee, a Cessna 150. It came out of Peachtree City, Georgia. This is an airplane I'm familiar with. I've seen it around flying. November 8110 Sierra, I believe, is the airplane, although that's not official yet. It left Peachtree City and flew up. I believe it got weathered in and spent the night is probably what happened. It definitely went up there Thursday night. Friday morning, it tried to fly out. I think it flew into terrain. I think this is unintentional IMC after takeoff. The weather was horrible Friday morning. Mountain obscuration, low fog, drizzle, rain, and low vis. I believe those were the conditions Friday morning when he tried to take off. His destination was Illinois. For whatever reason, trying to get it to Illinois, probably thinking that he could scud run out of there, and ran right into IMC immediately. Once again, that's a guess. It's only 48 hours ago. We have no idea yet. All I can tell you is I'm pretty sure that's the end number. I'm pretty sure that's the flight path, and I'm pretty sure he was going to Illinois. I looked at the weather for Friday morning at the time of the crash. It was not good up there. Unintentional IMC after takeoff, an attempted VFR trip scud running to try to get to the west side where the weather was better. The next one is yet another R44 crash. I'll put it up on the screen here. This is November 6-2 Charlie Delta in R44 down in Louisiana. One pilot and 2 people on board. It had a passenger and an infant on the airplane, on the helicopter. Let's take a look at this news clip that talks about this R44 crash in Louisiana.
The helicopter went down at about 9 last night, just north of Iowa. It landed in a residential area of Hecker Road and caught fire. First responders, along with firefighters and several law enforcement agencies, responded. This was the scene today. Investigators have confirmed 3 people have died, a man, a woman, and an infant. So far, police are not naming those victims. We're also told it appears to have been a personal helicopter. The Federal Aviation Administration is now investigating the crash.
Well, that's it for November. Let's put the data up here. I'll show this to you right now. We're actually doing pretty good so far as of today. We've consumed 308 days in 2024 as compared to 307 a year ago today, and that's because of leap year that we've had in 2024. We had 307 days 1 year ago today. We've had 138 general aviation fatal accidents compared to 149 a year ago, so 11 less. But look at this. The year end, 174. We closed up 2023 with 174 general aviation fatal accidents. Right now, we're at 138, so we're significantly less. We would still have to have 17 per month for the November and December, consistently, at least 17 per month in order to hit 174, and that would only just tie it. That would give us a dead tie for last year, and last year was a spectacularly good. Are we going to beat 2023? Let's hope so. I think we are. The way the data looks right now, I think we're on a good trend, but I want you to be very careful out there. Don't go fly into IMC. Watch your speed. Don't fly at night if you don't have to. Let's take a look at the final data here for this. The first 308 days were at 13.566 fatals per month. That's compared to 14.762 for 2023. That's fatals per month. Remember, 18 and 19 per month was the average steady drumbeat for years and years and years and years. We never got below 18 per month every single year. Now we're at 13, battling to try to get under 13 for the year, which is incredible. We've stair-stepped it down year by year by year. We're slowly, yes, we're flying more. It doesn't have anything to do with less flying. It's got to do with we're flying more. We're having less fatals. We're taking those same incidents and converting them into non-fatal events. I hope that you'll take proper AQP training and conditioning, condition yourself, use some best practices. Don't do some of that stuff. Only fly in good conditions and fly well within your limitations. That would be a whole lot better so that you stay off of my list.